Hey everyone, it's Dr. Jarrett. I'm here for my Tuesday afternoon Facebook live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Just wanted to begin. It's another beautiful day here on the East Coast. I was able to spend a little bit of time out in Brigantine, New Jersey. So shout out to all the people at Brigantine, New Jersey. You took care of me while I was out there. I really appreciate it. You really showed me how beautiful your town is. I never knew you guys existed and were right there, but I have to tell you, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing that you had going on. So one of the other things I had to say is that today's topic is going to be on our child's nutrition, especially your athlete's child's nutrition. So make sure that you are tuning in because a lot of you guys have asked me questions. Particularly this topic came from Dr. Coach Jason Holbrook. He's one of our recent coaches for the athletics for our local township, which is a great deal. So just wanted to let you guys know there's going to be a lot of people doing background activities because it is during the school day. I decided to broadcast live from our local high school because there'll be a lot of things going on. Like to let you guys know, hey Paulette, thanks for joining today. Appreciate you tuning in. Just for a lot of you guys, as far as things that we want you guys to know and understand about your child's nutrition, make sure you tune in, especially when it's warm, it's hot out there. There's a lot of other things going on. Make sure you check out my former video on heat-related illness. It's particularly common with athletes, especially if they're not hydrating themselves enough. It's particularly common for those that are suffering in the Caribbean, those that have suffered in Houston, Florida, a lot of the hurricane ravaged areas that we've seen recently. So it's one of those things that you want to take care of. So make sure you can go back and tune to that. Just a couple more minutes before we get into the topic today, but I certainly wanted to let you guys know that I thank you for tuning in every Tuesday, and it's a great topic for everyone to know something about. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, if you have any questions during my cast today, just make sure you type them in the comments section. I'll be happy to answer them, and we'll go forward. So just if you have never seen me before, I am Dr. Jarrett. I am your board certified pediatrician, here to help all you parents out there take better care of your kids. And I'm going to do this through my books, my programs, my live streams, all of the things that I'm going to help you with to take better care of your kids, get better behavior out of them, and just some safety tips every week. So anytime, feel free to give me a direct message through Facebook. Coach Jason Holbrook, he looked at me and messaged me through my Instagram account. That's also at Dr. Jarrett. That's Dr. J-A 2 R's E 1 T. And he wanted to have some of his questions answered about the athletic nutrition for your child athlete. So that being said, we'll get right into the topic. So I want to cover a few things basic about the nutritional advice that you're going to get from your child on a basics, whether they're an athlete or not. It's really the 4 food groups, things you learn in school. You're going to have your dairy. In nutrition, you're going to have your fruits and vegetables. You're going to have your proteins and your grains or your carbohydrates. Most of the diet should be consumed with fruits and vegetables. You're going to want to make sure that they're getting at least 5 servings of those a day, 2 to 3 servings of dairy a day, excuse me, and at least a couple of servings of protein throughout the day. Doesn't have to necessarily be meat-based, but it could be meat-based and a couple of other things. So make sure that you are watching those things and thinking of those. Kids tend to get plenty enough carbs. Make sure when you're looking at carbohydrates, they are going to be your daily whole grain carbs. That's what you're really going to want to see. Hey Joanna, thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate you tuning in. We're talking about your child athlete's nutrition today. Just giving some basic nutrition tips right off the bat, but you're going to see plenty of other advice specifically for your child athlete. And I know, Joanna, you have a child athlete as well. So one of the things I see a lot of is vitamin D deficiency. So that's kids that aren't getting enough vitamin D in their diet. So make sure you're giving them a multivitamin off the bat, because they may not be taking enough vitamin D in their dairy through their dairy products that are enriched with vitamin D. So a multivitamin is always a good thing because they need their calcium and vitamin D to build their bones. This is particularly important for your child athlete that is building their bone mass in these preteen and teen years, and may not necessarily have, but they won't be able to build any further bone density after their teenage years for the most part. So it's essentially important to get enough calcium and vitamin D so that they're ready for their bone strength as it goes on, because your bones only get weaker as you age outside of your teenage years. Another thing that we're seeing is a lot of overweight and obese kids. Mainly for them, especially if they're athletes, I'm not going to look for weight reduction. I'm going to look for weight maintenance, maybe a loss of a couple of pounds depending on the circumstance. So make sure if your child is overweight or obese and they are an athlete, I don't want to see them losing weight, but I do want them to maintain their weight, because you remember, kids have a different advantage than we do. Kids will continue to grow taller, so they can kind of grow into their weight, whereas as adults, we just kind of grow wider over time. So that's one thing to know. And finally, just as far as the athlete is concerned, realize that those athletes need to have at least 1 hour of exercise every day. And that's for every child. I don't care if they are in a soccer team, track team. Every child needs 1 hour of physical activity a day, and it can be recreational. So make sure that they're getting that. So now that we have some of the basics, talking about the 4 food groups, the need for vitamin D, the need for lots of fruits and vegetables in their diet. Now that we have all of that straight, we'll get into the needs of the athlete particularly. Now, the difference with children is that I can't give one blanket recommendation. You'll be able to find lots of good information on some government sites, some hospital sites. There'll be a lot of areas that you can look at some of these things and get specific advice based on your child. And it's really based on the child's weight and the child's age. As a child ages, for instance, they're going to need a little bit more as far as calories a day. So calories also fluctuate. And boys, from a 9-year-old athlete, maybe 18 to 2,200 calories a day, through a teenager athlete may need 3,000 calories if they're a boy. If they're a girl, they may need anywhere from about 1,600 to 2,500 calories a day, depending on how active they are. So again, these are blanket statements, but this is something you're going to need to know about. So, hey Maria, thank you for joining in the cast today. We're talking about your child athlete nutritional requirements. Again, anyone out there who's listening today, make sure you type any questions you have specifically into the comments section. If I can't answer them live on air, I will answer them after the broadcast today. So nonetheless, we're going to look at a few things that are important for kids. We talked about hydration before we got started. Hydration is going to be the #1 key thing for your athlete out there. And most of the hydration can really come from water. Don't worry about these sports drinks advertisements, these sport drinks commercials that really try to get you in to buy their product. Even after the first 1 to 2 hours of exercise, the child is not going to lose enough electrolytes to need electrolyte replacement. They're really doing something severe like a half marathon, an electrolyte replacement solution would be your best bet, as opposed to the sports drinks that tend to be too sugary and something that you don't really need. So going from there, it's all about hydration. So your teenage athlete is going to need to take in roughly 8 ounces of water every 20 to 30 minutes as they're exercising vigorously. Keep in mind that they need to start fully hydrated before they even start exercising. So they can't just, not drink anything all day at school, then run out to the field and expect to get something going on. It doesn't really work like that. So you've got to make sure that you're getting these things taken care of as far as their hydration status, and it can be largely water. Really don't believe the hype in the sports drinks. It really contains too many sugars, and they're not losing enough electrolytes for the replacement. So stick with water. Again, for heat-related illness information, I talked about that specifically on another video. So you can either look at that on my previous Facebook page, or I have them posted on my YouTube channel as well. So we get into proteins, especially adult nutrition enthusiasts are really into proteins and how many proteins should their young athlete have, because it's going to be prescriptive to each individual adult based on body mass and muscle bulk. But again, it's going to be based roughly the same in a child, as their base requirements are going to require maybe 0.5 gram per pound of body weight. So a 100-pound kid is going to need roughly 50 grams of protein if they're in a healthy weight range for their height. Keeping this in mind, you're going to really need to focus on the types of protein. They really don't need protein supplements. They can get everything they need through their diet, and most of that can happen through lean, low-fat meats like chicken, fish, and so on. But they can get it in their beef. If they are not, or if they are vegetarian or eat mostly vegetables, find plenty of protein in beans and nuts, and they can get their nutritional allowance there. So a rough amount would be, as a baseline, 6 to 7 ounces of protein a day for a male athlete. If they're working out heavily, you can add an additional ounce or so. For girls, it'll be about 5.5 to 6.5 ounces of protein. Again, you can add even up to an additional ounce of protein if they need it, if they're a heavy athlete and works out vigorously every day. So we also look at carbohydrates. So they're kind of the fuel blocks that we get from our things like breads, grains. You're going to want to make sure that they're whole grains, so you're going to want to use your whole wheat breads, your whole grain pastas, simply because they metabolize better. They tend to lead to less fat production or becoming more overweight if you're using the whole grain carbohydrates. And kids typically get plenty of carbohydrates during the day. They're going to get those through their bread. They're going to get those through their fruits and vegetables and a couple of other things. And it's going to be one of those things that typically they'll get more than they need of those. But having a healthy snack prior to practice or working out, especially if they've had a long school day, something that could be a mixture of proteins and carbs, like maybe peanut butter crackers, as well as having a post-workout or practice snack, which can include something as simple as chocolate milk. That provides a little bit of sugar, but also provides protein and that dairy and vitamin D and calcium that we talked about at the beginning that kids tend not to get enough of. Thank you guys for continuing to join the room today. I appreciate you listening. Hey, Beth Ann, we're talking about child nutrition and athletes today. We talked about some of the basics of the 4 food groups and making sure they're getting enough fruits and vegetables. We talked about the specific nutritional requirements for proteins that are out there, and we talked about making sure they get enough dairy, which includes vitamin D, because I'm seeing lots of vitamin D deficient kids out there. So again, thank you guys for tuning in today. So as we're going through, realizing that each kid may only need about 1/2 gram per pound of protein. They could get a little bit more than that if they're working out heavily. To let them have it. They're going to really show what they need by their diet, because you don't really want them losing weight during this time. Again, they're going to need their calorie consumption to go up, especially if they're on a couple of different sports teams at a time, and continue on with that hydration. Fats are something that they'll tend to get in their diet most often, but you're going to really want to make sure that there's some of those good or healthier fats, things that are found in fish, things that are found in avocados, and even eggs. If you have a history of high lipids or high cholesterol, your child should get checked in your doctor's office somewhere around 11 years of age anyway, by the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation. But that's something that can be specifically followed if you have a family history of that. But for the vast majority of kids, especially if they're athletes, they tend to metabolize their fats pretty well. But you don't really want a lot of trans fats or unsaturated fats that are going to be unhealthy for their heart in the long term. We talked about fruits and vegetables a little bit in the beginning. Again, fruits and vegetables, the best way to consume them during the day to get those full 5 servings in is really to get them through fresh fruits and vegetables. That's what you really want them to have. Canned vegetables are okay. They can still get nutrition out of them. Make sure that you're looking for the low in sodium ones. Same can be said for canned fruits. However, canned fruits tend to have a lot of added sugar, so you're not going to necessarily want that to happen either. So make sure you're paying attention to those things. And one thing I'll speak specifically about fruits is that you don't want to be giving them fruit juice. Fruit juice is something they shouldn't have really at all now. We've realized that fruit juice leads to tooth decay, it leads to being overweight or obese. It adds a lot of things that don't help the child at all. So the nutritional benefit they get out of that for the small amount of vitamins that are in that, it's really not worth it. So really, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no fruit juice at this time. So your child athlete is going to have specific needs, and it's really based on their age and their size. So for specific advice, you're going to really want to, there are a few calculators that are out there. You're going to want to go to your local health systems websites. They'll have some things up. The government also has some things up that will be beneficial for you guys. Just as a review, your child athlete is going to be out there. They're going to be working out. You may have seen a few behind me. They're probably in gym class or something like that now. But they're going to be getting their workout at least 60 minutes a day for every child, whether they're an athlete or not. They need to get that exercise. Make sure they're getting their fruits and vegetables, at least 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables are best. They are going to need 5 or to maybe even 7 ounces of protein, just as their basics, with another ounce to spare if they're working out heavily. You can stay away from those protein supplements in them. They can get everything out of they need out of their diet. Again, make sure that they are getting plenty of vitamin D. Throw in that multivitamin every day, in addition to making sure they get 3 servings of vitamin D fortified dairy that's going to be out there for their benefit. Seeing lots of vitamin D deficiency, particularly if you live in a temperate climate like I do in Pennsylvania, where it's nice and sunny now. 2 months from now is going to be cold, and I might not even see the sunlight. So all of those things, keep all of these things in mind, and most importantly, hydration is going to be key for your child. They're going to need 8 ounces every 20 minutes that they're out there. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I am Dr. Jarrett. I'm your board certified pediatrician. I'm here to help you take better control and take better health care of your child. I'm going to do this through my books, my live streams, and other programs I'll have forthcoming to you. Right now, all I want you to do is share this video and like my page. So sharing is caring. Share this video around, because I know you know a lot of people that have children that could use this information for their athlete. Hey, Coach Jason, thank you. Again, Coach Jason messaged me through Instagram at Dr. Jarret and asked me to discuss this topic on one of my live streams. If you guys have another topic that you'd like me to talk, hit me up through Facebook or Instagram or any social media, Twitter, at Dr. Jarret. Spell out doctor, that's J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T. And I'm here for you to answer any questions. Please make sure you like my Facebook page and share this video. So thanks again for tuning in. I'll be back with another pediatric topic next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's Dr. Jarret. All you guys take care.